what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Sechuayo, a.k.a. Coach Bird, and I'm the host of the BYRDCAGE show. Cousin Tracy?
Yes, sir.
Cousin Tracy when it airs. Cousin Tracy was at homecoming
Yes.
this past weekend. How was that before we get into it?
Listen, I don't know about anybody else's homecoming, but them HBCU homecomings hit different. And it's crazy because, you know, when you go down to them homecomings, you'd be surprised how many people, like, you really know in the area, like, who you know that went to school there, people from our area that are down there. Like, it was a good time. Yesterday,
And that was Del State, right?
Del State. I went to Del State this year. I usually kind of flip back and forth between Del State Clark, but you know, with the whole COVID and the pandemic, going all the way down to Atlanta wasn't a good, like, they twerked things this year. Like, it wasn't like your traditional homecoming. Like, they wasn't doing the tailgating this way, they wasn't doing it that way. So I just decided we'll just stay local and hit up. And even with that, you had to do a form to even come on campus. Yeah, you had to do like this form, and they wanted you to bring your vac. Like, when you pulled up on campus, they was like, have your vaccination card and your ID.
Yeah, right. We ain't playing around.
We don't want no fake COVID cards.
And it looked like y'all was having a great time too. You know what I'm saying? I saw some of the shots on the gram and whatnot. I saw it's like some other schools, like you said, with the tweaking it a little bit. A couple schools still had some aspects of their celebration, like, still virtual. Like, still had virtual parties.
And a couple of the parties, I know at Del State, a couple of the parties got canceled, and then they was moved to like different locations, you know what I mean? So
hopefully next year, come homecoming time, things will be
back to normal.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully. Yes. All right. But today, episode 26.
26.
Episode 26. We're moving right along. And in recent, what should we say? In recent things that have happened.
Recent news that's
happened in our high school sports world. You know what I'm saying? Today we just felt that we just wanted to touch a little bit on self-control. Student athletes, you have to have some sort of self-control. Coaches, parents, all of us. You know what I'm saying? You know, we both were athletes and whatnot, and we know that games can be emotional.
And heated.
Right, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you have to be able to show some type of self-control.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And for our viewers that don't know what we're talking about, our alma mater, Camden High's football squad, was involved in a little incident at Pleasantville.
With Pleasantville, but it was at home at Camden High, and they are now, according to the NJSIAA rules and the ruling, they have now been disqualified for postseason play.
Because the rule states 3 or more players or coaches disqualified or ejected throughout that season in the game or whatever.
Through unsportsmanlike conduct or flagrant fouls.
Right, you're banned from the postseason.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you know what I'm saying, I really feel bad for the kids. Just because I know that the record-wise,
they were doing well this year.
They were the number 2 seed.
Yeah, they were doing well.
This week.
But let's be clear: the day after they disqualified Camden, they also disqualified 2 schools from Central Jersey, Central and Toms River. So I know it's quick for us to want to say like they targeted Camden, but they did do it to other schools. So, and it's basically at this point going back to trying to keep your composure during adverse times and trying to have self-control. And I know it's easier said than done because football is heated. You know, the game is heated. It's a battle. It's a war out there. You're hitting and you're emotionally in the game, and you know, and you're taking a beating and you're beating up on others. So it's a very combative and very, you know, rough sport. Like you know, y'all going at it. It's a fight. It's a fight.
Pretty much.
It's a fight. It's a fight for 4 quarters, right? Much. So you are already aggressive as it is in nature, and then when something break off is some disrespect. But the problem I have with it is I was not at the game. Let's be clear about that. I was not at the game, so I'm only hearing bits and pieces of what went on. They're saying that prior to the game even starting, the trash talking and the things that were said from player to player, like all of that should have been. It should have been a conversation that was supposed to be had between the refs, the coaches, and the kids prior to this Because you got to remember, 2 years ago, there was a whole incident where our kids was placed in a traumatic situation at Pleasantville, which resulted in the fatal injury of a 10-year-old kid. So we still have seniors that were sophomores when that happened. So it's trauma all the way around for that game.
Right.
And I understand we're in a conference with them and we would have had to play them, but I think that whole thing should have been reevaluated.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that's a good point you brought up too, because the refs they come to each team, you know what I'm saying, and bring the team together and they read the whole sportsmanship little thing that they read before the game. But as an official, I think if you do, and even if you catch it pregame, you got to bring at least the coaches and the captains together. Like, listen, this is your warning right here. You know what I'm saying? If I see any taunting, anything remotely close to taunting, you're getting kicked out this game.
Right.
So this is your warning. So you go talk to your team coaching captains. You go talk to your team coaching captains. Let them know.
Yeah,
like,
try to get some control. Yeah.
Before it gets out of hand, and now you can't.
Right, and it's no going back from this. And I know everybody's argument is accountability, and both teams should be held accountable for the transgressions. Right, but when you look at the rule states 3 or more players. Camden High, I believe, had 4, and Pleasantville had 2.
Right.
So according to the rule, we have more than 3 players.
Right.
So the rule is the rule, and I get it. Rules aren't always fair, but rules are in place for order, right? And we got to hold ourselves accountable to following rules, right? Rules are there, but they're not always fair, and we get that.
Oh, yeah, we get that.
You know, rules are not always fair, but rules are always been designed to and I know this right here is going to be a touchy. I'm going to touch on some things right here, but this is what this is for. Rules are, a lot of the rules and laws were put in place to hinder the less fortunate, right?
Definitely.
To the less fortunate, and they're not as astute, right? And it's harder for us. And those rules aren't fair to people of a certain caliber of standing, right? And we know this, but that doesn't negate us having to follow them.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? We know the rules was put in place to hold us back.
Right.
But we need to follow them a little bit closer because we know that they were designed to hold us back, right?
Exactly.
So we're going to go back to the self-control thing. We always talk about coaching. When you coach, you're more than just a coach. Like you're a counselor, you're a parent, you're a chef, you're a pastor. Like you wear all these hats when you coach, right? Uber, all of that. Yeah, all of that. DoorDash, you know, we all love it when you coach. But one of the things that we need to get back to is teaching our athletes self-control, self-respect, and discipline. And a lot of people get their children involved in athletics because of what? Structure and discipline.
Right, exactly.
Like the little boy out of control, and he's out of control or he's having issues. A lot of times, and I've even known some therapists to tell some certain children that has like disabilities, put them in football. Put him in a structured sport. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of energy. Put him in a structured sport. And we just got to go back to having discipline and self-control. And that's coaches too.
Right, yeah. Definitely.
That's coaches too, because I went to a couple Little League games and I seen the coaches.
Out of control.
Yeah. we got to remember people are watching.
Your kids,
yeah, right.
Kids are
we got to remember the players is watching, coach.
Yeah.
And granted, I understand the coach is supposed to speak up and support their players and stand up for their players, but rules are rules, and we got to learn self-control as adults, as student athletes, self-respect, and self-discipline.
And like we always say, you know, that's why I love sports, and I'm sure that's why you love sports as well, because it teaches you so many life lessons. You know what I'm saying? That self-control, that discipline that you just spoke of. You know, you get that taught early when you're involved in sports early, and hopefully you get that instilled in you so when you become an adult, you know what I'm saying, you still like, I got to have self-control. I got to abide by this rule. Maybe I don't think a stop sign should be here, but it's there, so I got to stop.
But you know, and there's also the learning point behind this is for every action and reaction, there's a consequence.
Yes.
And you can't take it back now.
Right. No, you can't.
Yeah, he said something to me.
Right.
Yeah, he punched me.
Right.
Yeah, he slammed me when the play was over. And I reacted.
Right.
But that reaction now had a consequence.
Very true.
And in your head, you thinking, I could have handled it differently. Or maybe I could have handled it differently. But now it's too late.
Yeah, you can't go back.
Now it's too late. And I like the fact that the parents are stepping up and taking a big step and contacting NJSIAA and just expressing their concerns.
Right.
Because they want, like, it has to be, and they can't bend the rule. Because now if you bend the rule, it has to be bent.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Now, let's talk about that before we get out of here, cousin. One, do you agree with the rule? Right. And two, if you don't agree with the rule as it is, do you think maybe it should be tweaked a little bit? And then I'll give my opinion.
I don't agree with the rule because it was two other games before the playoffs that they could have been disqualified for.
Right. I got you.
You know what I mean? And their record still would have, even if they disqualified for those two games, the record still would have stood where they'd be able to play in postseason.
Right.
But I agree that rules need to be in place.
Gotcha.
I also don't know when all these rules were established.
Right.
Do we need to revisit the rule book?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But more importantly, I just think it all goes back to, I know people don't want to hear this, but it is a teachable moment. It is a teachable moment because now you got to remember a reaction that you tricked.
Right.
Quick to react.
Right.
Now the consequence is this.
And like you said,
And you got to remember, your reaction or your action, it's the consequence involved.
Right.
You know, and it's a shame that people learn about consequences sometime when it's too late. When it's too late. But at the end of the day, it all goes back to having internal self-control and being able, and it took me a long time to learn it because I know I was hot-headed.
Oh, most definitely.
I was very hot-headed, and it took me a real long time to learn it and understand that you don't want to go in front of somebody with a black robe because you reacted.
Right, 'cause you reacted.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it is about having self-control and learning self-discipline, and and I know it's hard to explain that to a child
Right.
and a young adult. But the fact of the matter remains is you could do something as a young adult, 18, 19 years old, that will damage the rest of your life. So we have to keep it honest with them. You have to remember, for every action, there is a reaction and there's a consequence. So tread lightly because this could damage, and what I mean by some of these guys, the seniors, and it may not be that many seniors, I think it's about 10 of them, but it was an opportunity for them to showcase themselves.
Yes.
You know?
Because the postseason, there's only a couple teams left.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's more focused on, on those games. And as far as the rule, I mean, like you said, rules need to be in place. So some type of rule needs to be in place because you got to have something that you can hold over. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, y'all can't be out here wilding out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just getting thrown out of games and acting crazy. Some type of penalty. I understand that. But I think maybe it should be revisited and tweaked a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I know football is a little harder because, like basketball, you can't put no more than 15 in the book. So it's kind of a little easier to identify, like, number 3, number 5, and number 6.
Right.
Gone. So now we could just punish them jokers. Like, maybe they're done for the postseason. But the team can continue to play.
Right.
Something like that. You know what I'm saying? Football, I know especially when you got a lot of guys, you know what I'm saying, out there, it might be a little hard to identify and point out exactly. But, I mean, with today's technology, we got all the games are on Huddle and YouTube, live stream, and everything else. So you can always, before you make that ruling, you know what I'm saying, you can always pull up the film and check it out and, you know what I mean, go from there.
And I think that's part of the argument, too. Like, the disqualification came quick.
Right.
The game was Saturday, disqualification landed Monday.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so how much, investigating did you look into exactly what went on? Exactly. And did it warrant the entire team being penalized? Exactly. I know what the rule says, but did it warrant the entire varsity team?
That's what I'm saying. With technology now, you can the film is there. I mean,
Right.
people take these games and everything, so
Now,
you can sit down at your little
I'm
committee
just
and
throwing
watch
this out
it, you know
there.
what
I'm just
saying?
throwing this out there. And I don't even know if these numbers is real, but you could have said 12, 11, 6, 5, 1, they're gone.
Right.
For the rest of the year.
Right. Right.
And anyway, if you did something in that retrospect, the team is going to be now at a disadvantage anyway going into the
right. So
postseason.
they're being
Because if
punished.
it's right,
Right.
so if it was like any of their star
Right.
players,
Right.
we down men.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So it's still a consequence.
It's still a
But it's
consequence.
not just everybody. Is not
And
being
the
punished,
crazy
you know
part
what I'm
about it is the whole team got punished for.
Right.
And I get the brotherhood, I get the team spirit where my boy was out there and I
Right.
ran off the bench to him.
Right.
But the emptying of the bench.
Yeah, that's what.
But and then I'm hearing, and I don't even know how factual this is. And again, I'm putting this disclaimer out there. I was not there.
Right, I
That's
wasn't
it.
there
That's
either.
all. I was not there. But I heard parents got involved from
Yeah,
Pleasantville,
yeah, yeah,
and then that's
yeah,
what made our
yeah,
parents
yeah,
like
yeah.
it just got
Got
crazy.
where
And that's why I say going back to, even though the incident 2 years ago had nothing to do
Right.
with our players, had nothing to do with our fans, had nothing to do with
Right.
our families, I just think the whole traumatic incident
right. It's
just
still
is
there.
blood. It's just bad.
It's just
You know what I
I
mean?
feel you.
And I me personally think the NJSIA should have ruled on that.
Right, yes.
They should have ruled on that.
Right.
Them teams, until we,
yeah.
for a couple years, let's not play them. Let's
Right.
not let them play.
Right.
Because last year we didn't play because of COVID.
Right.
I don't think we didn't actually play them last year because the season was shortened or
Right,
something.
Yeah.
But I think it should have been revisited.
Yeah.
Because did we really address the trauma
Right.
of the kids?
You're right.
And again, those seniors now were sophomores in that very incident.
Right.
Did we ever really address the trauma? Did we
Right.
ever really address the stressor of being back on the field with the same team that you had a shooting at
Yeah,
a game?
At a game. You're running off the field because people are shooting.
You
know what I'm saying?
one
As a
young
kid,
man ended up huddling a little
Right,
girl.
right,
Like,
right.
so my thing is,
Right.
did we ever really address that trauma? So it
That's
might
it.
have been some built up,
True.
underlining issues
Based on that.
based
Got
on
this
that,
team again,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
And
I
then
think about it, 'cause and last year was so unusual and different. You know what I'm saying? So now you're just kind of coming back out a little bit. So you got the stress of what happened 2 years ago. Then you got the stress of like, I'm free, I'm out. Like,
Right.
What's going on? Other people in the stands. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like,
right,
there's a whole
right.
lot like that could have, added to all that. But you know what I'm saying? Like
I mean, a lot of things, not just the ruling, but a lot of things in general for our young people need to be addressed.
Right.
And it all boils back down to the self-control. You know, they were inside for some time and not being able to act usual behavior. And it was a different time for our young people. And we have to, now that they're back outside and people are outside, we have to really, really talk to them about dealing with their self-control and having self-respect and being, have self-discipline. Because now that you're outside, you can't take advantage.
Right. You can't take advantage, exactly.
And you can't act unusual.
Right. Right. That's true. And it's funny, before we get out of here, I just see it in the classroom because, last year we had a lot of our kids were full remote. And then we had a hybrid schedule where some kids came in one day, the next came in the other.
Right.
So I might have had maybe like 4 or 5 kids
One
in
day,
my class, and the rest was on computer or whatever. So now they're all back together in class. In the beginning, it was kind of like they had to figure out how we do this again. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I be in class with classmates and sit in my seat and do work, and I'm not home?
Yeah, and it's an uptick. It's an uptick in aggression throughout all the school districts.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Throughout the country.
I know everybody's doing
Yeah,
it.
the young people right now are just
like,
trying to get
where we going?
readjusted. And
Right.
then you got some children, the last time they was actually in a school and around other kids, they was in middle school.
Yeah, right.
Now they're in high school, in 10th grade.
Right.
They
Now
woke
they're
up
in
one
high
day,
school,
they went to
right.
sleep, woke up one day, I'm in high school.
High school. Like, what's going on here?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Last
What's
time I was in
going
the
on
building
here?
around other people, I was in middle school or a family school. You know what I mean? So it's a lot for our children to adjust. It's a lot for our families to adjust to. It's a lot. But again, it all boils down to, although we're gradually opening back up, the rules are changing. You got to still display some type of self-control and self-discipline. And that's what it boils down to. Athletics has to be about you putting in the work, you having self-discipline, self-respect, and self-control. And that is the making of a stellar student athlete. You know, you have those components along with your skill set.
Right.
You know, if you're coachable, if you're a coachable child, you'll become a very coachable adult, right? A very productive adult.
True.
You know, and a lot of the coached has a lot to do with self-control, self-respect, and self-discipline. You know, so.
I like it. I ain't got nothing to add to it. I ain't got nothing to add to it. You know what I'm saying?
So real quick before we finish out, my heart goes out to the Camden High
most definitely.
staff and players.
Most definitely. 'Cause they put in, they work
They,
hard.
yeah, they
you know
worked
what I'm
hard
saying?
all year, all summer.
Most definitely.
I wish nothing but the best for the boys that are seniors moving forward. The staff, keep your head up, keep encouraging the young people because it ain't over for them.
Right.
And although somebody made a statement that for some of them young boys, this year may have been the last time they play football because college may not be for all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just want y'all to know that whether this is the last year y'all play football or not, you guys are loved, you guys are supported, you know, and you know, I just want you to keep your heads up because you guys did, you know, had a good season. You know, had a good season. And listen, my hat goes off to you guys. Just keep your head up.
Definitely. Any shout outs or anything before we get out of here?
No.
Got anything going on? Because you know you always got
No,
something coming up.
I don't have anything going on. I don't believe anyway. As of right now, I don't. Thanks for the kind words, and I got some messages. I was down last week. I got some messages and some kind words, and thank you guys. And again, just keep us in prayer. Keep me in prayer. And hey.
From there. I'm gonna shout out my squad. You know what I'm saying? We had a nice little win this past weekend over Timber Creek. It was a great game too. If I was a fan just watching it because it was so bad, I mean, I'm glad we won. That's probably what makes it great. But it was so back and forth Friday night. You know what I'm saying? It was a good one. And
Congratulations.
we was able to come out on top. So we just got to see where we fall as far as playoff season. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
Looks like we'll be at those playoff games supporting Code Red.
See if I can find you a Code Red sweatshirt.
Too far. You always go too far.
Coach Tab, we're going to get her a sweatshirt, Coach Tab. I need a sweatshirt for my cousin TRACEY. You know what I'm saying?
Too far.
But, cousin, you know I love you. Appreciate you. Thank
love
you
you too.
For
Thank you.
doing this with me. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Cousin A. You know what I'm saying? And he was hanging with you down at Dell State, I saw.
Yeah. I brought him down. Hope he enjoyed himself.
I'm sure he did. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he did. That's what's up. Well, once again, I'm Sechiwayo, a.k.a. Big Bird. I am the host of the BYRDCAGE Show, and we'll talk to you soon.
It was a stone groove, my man.